Damas y caballeros, chicos y chicas, niños de todas las edades, bienvenidos al Blower Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon, con el pensamiento correcto de un cerebro izquierdo, haciendo el trabajo que los American Media Maggots no hacen, operando detrás de las líneas enemigas de la California ocupada, en vivo y en directo, desde Estudio 23. De la vasta, rica, voluminosa y detestable SHR Media Network. Aquí está la mayor decepción de SHR, el Zeppelin Bloviating.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, less than 2 miles from the locus of evil on the entire left coast. The source of all the stench, the sulfur, the brimstone, all of it for California. The locus of evil. The Bill Mill. The capital of California, Sacramento. It's west, that way. Tonight, it is producing clouds of sulfur and evil brimstone. You got to belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Blaine is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them. The lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left, your right, which means that you are listening on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. You're also chatting on shrmedia.com, but you can also watch the show on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, science, sex, law. We talk about it all here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and do not forget to tip your waitress. Oh my God, welcome to everybody. It is Tuesday, April 24th, the year of our Lord 2018. And the show tonight came about this close to not working. And it's just one of those continuing things where it's the brilliance, it's the luck, call it whatever you will, of BZ, where it seems like almost no one is going to get this reference, but I'm going to make it anyway. Anybody remember Joe Butz from Little Abner? He was the cartoon character where wherever he walked, he had the lightning, the storm cloud over his head, and wherever he walked, it was raining on him constantly. In terms of radio and the ability to get through things technological, it would seem to me that that guy is, in fact, myself. To the fact that I have lined up 35 tabs over here for a really lengthy show. We're gonna get to that in a second. And I haven't even gotten into the tab where I can look and see who's in chat yet. By the way, just thought I should tell you, I spoke to Dan Butcher this weekend, Sunday, and he has completely remade the SHR Media site, shrmedia.com. There's a ton of news there that Dan now updates regularly, and thanks ever so kindly to Dan Butcher. I greatly appreciate that. Hey, look, it shows that I'm live in the Saloon right now on shrmedia.com. Great. Mary Brockman, welcome. Good to see you. And Mike, good to see you as well. Now, I have lunch Tomorrow, I'm not sure. I haven't been able to contact Sean yet, but with luck, Sean and I will be able to have lunch. We've had lunch for the past 2 Wednesdays because Sean is not gone. I want to hear what's kind of crazy crap is happening in his life, and he wants to hear about the stuff that's happening in my life as well. But wait. First, I have to tell you why you're listening tonight, right? You're listening for Alan Thomas. He's a paranormal investigator. I'm going to get to the technological end of it all because we had to go to Plan B tonight. In any event, we're going to be talking to Alan Thomas, and he and I are going to weigh in on the passing of Art Bell. Art was a radio legend. I've had Alan Thomas, paranormal investigator, Sasquatch hunter, and investigator on the show twice before. Alan Thomas is that rare jewel who comes across in such a way as from the first 10 seconds you hear him talk, you can't help but like the guy. Alan Thomas is just a likable character, extremely knowledgeable about the paranormal, about Sasquatches, about the unexplained. The last time he was here, I told him about a strange situation. Mary Brockman, good to see you. A strange situation that occurred to me on Highway 20, adjacent Clear Lake, and that was very strange. In any event, Sean and I were talking, and he happened to mention what he was having for dinner, and I told him what I was having for dinner on one phone call, and then he said, oh, yeah, and I'm having Hot Pockets, and then he sent me a link to this. I heard this, and I laughed my arse off, because it's Jim Gaffigan.
Eskimo. I'm moving a little slow tonight. I had a Hot Pocket for dinner. Good to see I'm not the only white trash here. I buy the Hot Pockets. I go in grocery stores. I'm like, yeah, I get these. I've never eaten a Hot Pocket and then afterwards been, I'm glad I ate that. I'm always like, I'm gonna die. I paid for that? Did I eat it or rub it on my face? My back hurts. Ow. I was looking at a box of Hot Pockets. They have a warning printed on the side. So, warning, you just bought Hot Pockets. Hope you're drunk or heading home to a trailer. You hillbilly, enjoy the next NASCAR event. Hot Pockets. I like NASCAR. He's a jerk. Never really see that on a menu when you go out to dinner. You know, let's see, I'll have the Caesar salad and the Hot Pocket. Tonight's specials, we have a sea bass, which is broiled, and we have a Hot Pocket, which is cooked in a dirty microwave. And that comes with a side of Pepto. Is your Hot Pocket cold in the middle? It's frozen. But it can be served boiling lava hot. Will it burn my mouth? It'll destroy your mouth. Everything will taste like rubber for a month. All of the Hot Pocket. Hot Pocket! Hot Pockets, yeah. They haven't been around that long, like 10 years. How'd they come up with that? Was there some guy in a marketing meeting like, I got an idea. How about we fill a Pop-Tart with nasty meat? And you can cook it in a sleeve thing. You can dunk it in the toilet. There is the vegetarian Hot Pocket for those of us that don't want to eat meat but still would like diarrhea. Hot Pocket. It should just come with a roll of toilet paper. Diarrhea Pocket. You ever notice there's no dignified way to buy toilet paper? You always had to buy that multi-pack of like 18 rolls.
Yes.
Stick it in your cart. Everyone in the store's like, does that guy leave the bathroom? What's he living off of Hot Pockets? Hot Pocket. There's the lean pocket. I don't even want to know what's in there. Imagine the directions. Take out of box, place directly in toilet. Flush pocket. Recently, they introduced the breakfast Hot Pocket. Finally. I can't think of a better way to start the day. Good morning! You're about to call in sick. Hot Pocket.
And that's the Hot Pocket story from Jim Gaffigan. I should like to tell everybody basically what we did tonight is we worked the telephones off of Skype. But I'm doing something different tonight because our Skype is not working. So on plan B, I should have everything Bluetoothed in. I'm going to call Alan Thomas, and we're going to have a discussion. I just wanted to open some things up with some levity, you see, so that we can... Here we go. Let's turn that up. Hey, Alan Thomas, how are you, sir?
Hello, BZ. How are you? I'm fine.
I am great. I introduced everybody to Alan. This is the third time on the show, and Alan is a paranormal investigator, a Sasquatch hunter and investigator, and a man of all things unexplained. And let me go, before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about tonight, sort of a tribute to the radio legend Art Bell, who passed away at the age of 72 on the 14th. I think he passed away April 14th. And Alan, tell people a little bit about yourself. You've been investigating or interested in the paranormal for quite some time, and one of the things that brought you into the paranormal experience was your having passed on the operating table. Tell folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, I went in for a simple procedure. You know, it's called an angiogram. And it was before they did it in the wrist. You know, now they try to go in your wrist more often than not. But they went into the groin, which is the bend in your leg.
Okay.
You know, and they go right into the femoral artery. And then they found out my heart was fine. Everything was good. I was 42 years old.
Okay.
And they used a new technology for then called a collagen plug. And what it was supposed to do was melt over the insert site of the catheter that they use to go look in your heart. And what it does is it stops the bleeding in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Opposed to direct pressure of around 50 minutes. Okay? But only they hadn't used this thing very much, so they were still using the direct pressure just in case.
Okay.
And they pushed the collagen plug into the artery.
Okay.
And then it melted and then coagulated like it's supposed to, but it blocked all blood flow to the right leg. And then 7 days later, I was back saying, I am hurting so bad, you know, and my leg is as white as a typing paper, about as white as you could get. And they did another angiogram from the other side and went around and they seen that they did the blockage and then rushed me straight into surgery. When I came out of surgery, they told me that when I wake up, I might not have a right leg. That's what they told me.
Jesus.
Before they knocked me out, you know. And that's a really nice thing to think about when you go out, you know.
Yeah.
'Cause that's your last thought is, what? Yeah. But then when I woke up, I woke up in recovery, and they had this little button thing, and the nurse was showing it to me and telling me about it. I could push it every 6 minutes and everything. And she had it where I could grab it, you know, if I wanted to, which I wanted to, because the pain was really intense. And she pulled it back from me and says, not yet. We have to the doctor has to tell you something. And he stepped forward and says, it was a 7.5-hour surgery. We saved your leg, but you died twice on the table. And he said what happened was when they reinstituted the blood flow, they were supposed to clean the blood out of the leg, you know, and kind of normally what they do is they put you under and then they they keep the blood circulating somehow.
Okay.
Well, it was such a rush surgery, they didn't do that, and when they released the blood to flow, it went to hit my brain, bam, I was dead. Now, I remember that, okay?
Oh no!
Yeah, I don't remember the pain or anything. I just remember kind of coming to inside of this valley, a really beautiful valley, and I mean, I don't even have words to describe how beautiful, except for it was like Earth, as in it had mountains and trees and flowers and a river, and it was beautiful, you know, and everything made music, and I was kind of tripping out on that. And then I'm a mountain person, and off in the distance there is these beautiful looking mountains, and I thought, oh man, I would love to check those out. Soon as I gave that thought, I was standing in these mountains, and if anybody's ever been in a forest, you know, like the Sierras or, you know, Tahoe or anywhere, when you get out there, it has a smell. It's beautiful, you know.
Yep.
Well, this smell was like 100 zillion times more beautiful, and everything was making music. I mean, it was like really a trip, you know, and I was standing there just taking that in, and I was actually taking in deep breaths, you know, and I've often wondered, like, how can you take a deep breath when you're, you know, you don't have lungs or whatever, but only I could smell it, and I was taking deep breaths. Then I realized, like, I was facing the valley. I was overlooking this valley, this beautiful valley.
Okay.
And it came to my mind, like, oh, no, what if somebody was waiting for me? You know, and what if there was somebody supposed to meet me there? And I thought, oh, no, you know, I really messed up. As soon as I thought that I shouldn't have left, bam, I was back in the same spot, and there was somebody waiting for me. And they're like, are you done? Only they didn't say it with their voice. They spoke mind to mind. You know, and I was thinking to myself, like, done? Like, I have no idea what they're talking about, you know, like, done. I just barely got here. You know, I haven't even begun to be done yet, you know, like, how could I be done? I didn't start, you know. And that's what I was thinking. And they go, no, are you done? I'm like, what? Done? What? I don't get it. What are you talking about? And then the other guy said in his mind to me, what about your grandkids? He said that question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, soon as he said that question, my mind went to the earth, back to my family, and I was thinking of my grandkids, and I was thinking, oh, that done. You know, like, am I done doing that? And as soon as my mind did that, I felt like a sucking power, like being sucked backwards. And I started to move. You know, it was like sucking me back. And all of a sudden, I mean, like faster than almost a blink of an eye, I slammed into my body. And I opened my eyes, and there was a doctor with his face right in my face, and he was yelling at me, stay with us. Stay with us, like that. And the next thing I know, I conked out. And then the next thing I remember is them standing there telling me this story and handing me the button. And then they told me, you could push that button every 6 minutes. And I did, and I don't know how long I was in there, because I would push the button, and then I would conk out. And they tell me I was in there a couple of weeks. I feel like I was in there several months, but I have no idea, you know, really. But that changed my whole life. and thinking on, you know, like, what's real and what's not real here. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this isn't all there is, you know, and there's someplace better than this when you die, and it is a special place, you know. And I really did want to explore it a whole lot more. And if they wouldn't have said grandkids, I probably would have. And what I figured out only in the I don't know how long I was there. It seemed like there was no time. I figured out you could travel at the speed of thought. So all you had to do is think where you want to be, and there you are. And I was getting ready to really, if there was nobody there to meet me, I probably would have played with that a little more.
So after that occurred, and you passed away twice on the table, if I'm not mistaken, you said if following that, you began to be receptive. You began to be sensitive and more aware of other things. Like what kind of things did you become aware of?
I can feel people's feelings. Like I can, when people are walking by me and stuff like that, I can't read anyone's thoughts, but I can, like, if something's wrong, I pick up on it. If they're even having a good day, I pick up on it. In fact, it actually kind of affects my feelings. You know what I mean? Like, if they're having a downer, then all of a sudden I start feeling like I'm having a downer. But if they're cheery and really having a good time, it affects me to where I feel like I'm getting cheery and having a good time. Also, this is the creepy part. I can tell by looking in people's eyes if there's something physically wrong with them and if they're going to die or not.
Okay.
And at first I didn't
talent you may
realize
not
that.
want to have.
What? Say what now?
A talent you may not want to have.
No, it's creepy. That one's creepy, and usually when I feel, like when I see their eyes, it's like, oh man, no, not that person. That's when I start thinking that, and it even works over the TV. That's what's weird is, there was a newscaster, and I was just walking by the TV. I don't watch the news that often, and I glanced at the TV and seen this guy looking at the camera, and I'm like, oh no, I can't remember who it was, Brian Williams oh man, I can't remember who it was.
Okay. But
he was like the top national news guy anchor a few years ago, and maybe Brian Williams took his place. I don't know. But I'm like, oh no, that guy's going to die. And I said it out loud, and everybody in the room's like, ha, that's funny. No, he isn't. And then within 3 weeks, he died of cancer.
There was a question in chat. Mary Brockman in chat asked, so Alan, did you ever get started on what you weren't done with?
Yeah, I did. I actually did, because the operation, it disabled me. So I couldn't go back to my career. My career was in the casino industry, and I was a marketing director, and I worked 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. So I didn't know my kids. I hardly knew my wife anymore. You know what I mean? And I definitely didn't know my grandkids like I thought I did. I thought I knew everybody, but I didn't. But as soon as I was retired, the first thing I did was start doing things with them, go to the games. Only I was in a wheelchair, but I would let them push me around, let the grandkids push me around, and they would hang out on the bed with me, and I got to actually know everyone, even my wife. We got closer, even though I told her, you need to leave me because, I was making very good money at the casino. I could not give her the life that we lived before, and I lost everything. And I was telling her, you need to go find somebody that could give you the things I can't give you anymore, because I don't feel right dragging everyone down with me. You know what I mean? And she's like, no, that's not how it works, we met in high school. We dated 2 years. We got married right out of high school. We've been together 40 years. She goes, that isn't how it works. We stay, till death do us part, But yeah, I have. I know all the grandkids. They love me to death. I love them to death. All my kids were best friends. And I thought I knew everybody. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know what they liked. I didn't know anything. Now I do. It's really cool.
There was another question in chat. Mike in chat says, hey, ask Alan if it was the person that he believed passed away was Tony Snow. And I'm not sure, I haven't been able to look this up, but I think Tony Snow was a White House spokesman for a while. But does that name sound familiar? Does that ring a bell like the person that you saw?
No, this was like the top anchor man on the news, and he died of cancer.
Okay.
And, I mean, that was the only one I ever saw on TV, and I saw it in his eyes. Since then, I've seen lots of people, family members, like my uncle. I didn't want to tell, I never did tell him, but only could tell, and he only lasts 6 months after I saw him, but only it also makes me feel their feelings. So, it's helped me to also become more closer to the people that are older than me. That, like I'm almost the last generation now, next to go, I guess you would say. There's no more grandpas and grandmas and all that, the layers of people above you anymore. But because of that, I have like a empathy for, and I wanted to get to know everybody. So I became best friends with all the relatives I could before they passed, the older generation. And so that was a positive that came out of it. Bad part, I knew, when they were close and all that. That sucks.
We're about 4 minutes before the bottom of the hour break. I want to inform everybody, though, that Alan is not in a wheelchair these days. Alan stands up. Occasionally, Alan will use a cane, but Alan is not confined to a wheelchair, so he is blessed in that. Well, speaking of being blessed, you are a very faithful individual, are you not?
Yes. I can't be a bad person. After that little trip or ordeal, I have a conscience now. Worse than before. Like before, I could tell someone off, or, I could not like somebody and hold a grudge. Now I can't. I don't hold a grudge. I forgive people, even if they're really nasty to me. I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of little children. That's what I feel like. And I forgive them because they don't have a clue of what happens after to the next life, And one of the things that was made very clear to me was before they sent me packing, it's like you could know everything when you're over there. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I knew was relationships was the most important thing in this life. Well, that carries over into the next life.
I'd completely have to agree with that one. I wish I'd done things like that better in my own life, but that's another story for another time. We got about two more minutes. We're going to go to the break, and when Alan and I come back, we're going to be talking about Art Bell. He passed away. He was a radio legend, a midnight radio legend. And the reason I wanted to ask Alan Thomas on tonight is because I listened to Art Bell. I was interested in Art Bell, but Alan actually interacted with Art Bell and was on Art Bell's network for a while. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Alan tonight, to see if maybe I might be able to coax a few stories out of him and the relationships and some of the things that went on behind the scenes with regard to that. And also just to discuss in general how people like Art Bell, they're a thing of the past. They're disappearing very quickly. Radio is changing entirely. Terrestrial radio may eventually graduate. Who knows how many years it will take, but sooner or later it will all, I'm guessing, be on the internet. Where will you get your radio, and where will tomorrow's big radio hosts come from? Art Bell paid his dues. He was on 400 radio stations, and he was eventually broadcasting at midnight, in the dark, in the desert, in Nye County, Nevada, from his house in Pahrump. If you ever saw, there's a video on YouTube, and I think it's entitled something similar to Art Bell's Last Wave. and it's, I think it was about a week or two before his passing. Art Bell is flying a drone up from the end of his driveway. You can see him wave at you as the drone floats up, and you can see it look down on his house. It was literally a compound. There were numerous buildings there, beautifully maintained, all fenced off, a massive dish in the back. Art Bell was a techie. He loved radio. He loved people. He loved to be on the air. He was the quintessential radio guy. Folks, we are going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Please don't go away. And we're going to be talking again, of course, to Alan Thomas. Folks, be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, right. And finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeist thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. You are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. You can jump into our chat, and you can also listen to what's going on right now. And tonight we have extra special guest Alan Thomas, who is kind enough to come here tonight. And we heard a little bit about Alan's background, which is lengthy and varied and incredibly unique. But I want to talk about Art Bell. It was, let me go back to this. Jimmy Hoffa. I should tell everyone, Jimmy Hoffa has come back tonight just to be in this chat room. So thanks, Jimmy, for being in the chat room. Greatly appreciate it. But Jimmy Hoffa had a very interesting comment to make about Art Bell. He said that Art Bell set a Guinness World Record for the longest solo broadcast at 116 hours and 15 minutes as a DJ in Okinawa, Japan. But that's not all the story. Art did this to raise funds to rescue over 100 Vietnamese orphans left stranded by the conflict in their home country. Now, that's important because that's part of Art Bell's background. He went to Vietnam. He served in the military and became interested in technology and radio as a result of that. Art Bell was very, very unique. What a great guy. Any initial first thoughts about Art, Alan Thomas?
Well, my first thing is he is probably the only guy on the planet that scared the you-know-what out of me I don't know how many times, right? I mean, I don't know how many people he scared, but he scared me a bunch of times.
There was also the famous call, and if you look in YouTube, you can find it, where someone was claiming to be calling in from Area 51. It sounded as though he was going to regale us with some kind of information, and then the call completely went away. That was one of Art Bell's most famous phone calls. Do you have any thoughts, Alan, about what Art Bell meant to not just the paranormal, but to radio in general? Because I should let me stop right here for a moment. Excuse me, Alan Thomas, for being so damn rude. You have been on the air, you've been on radio, you've been on the television, and you have your own YouTube channel right now. So first, God, I apologize so grandly for not getting to this immediately, but can you tell people where you can be found, your YouTube channel, and any social media where you can be found right now? Because I'm going to get to another point in just a minute.
Well, it's really easy. I have everything named one name, and that is the Squatch Zone.
Okay.
Like Sasquatch. So my Twitter is Squatch Zone. My YouTube is Squatch Zone. And then I have a Squatch Zone Facebook page also. So I'm the Squatch Zone. But I don't just talk about Squatch. I talk about UFOs and ghosts and aliens and abductions and conspiracies. We have a zone for everything, you know. We just get in the zone and we talk. And I should have named it something other than that, but my favorite thing is squatching, so it was the Squatch Zone because that's my main thrust most of the time. My main hobby, I guess.
Now, you were on Paranormal Central with another unnamed individual, and you were on there for 4 years, 5 years?
8 years.
8, okay, I'm sorry. I vastly underestimated that. 8 years. And I want to add, because this adds to your Veritas overall, You have been on TV. You have been on certain television shows with regard to specifically your expertise. Can you tell some of the folks about some of the shows that you've appeared on as well?
It started with Finding Bigfoot, and actually I wasn't even supposed to be on Finding Bigfoot because of my background. The producers of the show whenever they go into an area, they try to find somebody that's knowledgeable about the geographic area and hotels and where the shooting locations, somebody that knows how to, do that kind of stuff, gather permits and things. So what they did was they hired me to scout locations and take pictures and send them back to them, and then we land on the areas where they like, and then we go procure the permits. And actually I was only supposed to do that. They didn't know that I saw a Bigfoot. And then once we were working and I got to hanging out with Bobo and those guys, and we started swapping stories afterwards in the hotel, they were like, "You saw a Bigfoot?" So on the very last day, and I wasn't even dressed right, I was dressed to work. I had no idea, The very last day, they go, "Okay, it's your turn." I'm like, "My turn what?" He goes, "We're going to interview you." And I thought, I looked at what I was wearing. I'm like, no.
Not like this.
Yeah, no, I'm dressed for like freezing cold working wet, not dressed to go looking on TV. But they went ahead and they interviewed me, and then they made fun of me. That was kind of fun. When it aired, they actually made fun of my situation sighting thing, and they didn't even air my actual sighting. They aired something that Paranormal Central, we had done with Paranormal Central, and actually I think they wanted to make fun of that. They weren't really making fun of me as much as that part. And then that led to working with Nat Geo, and I wasn't on TV, but only I worked behind the scenes, and I put out an episode of Chasing UFOs.
Aha.
Yeah, and then that led to Destination America. They did the same thing, only they came out, and it was to work for them and also to be interviewed by them. And we found the spot and the location, and we did that. And that was on Bigfoot Wars. That's what it's called. So, like, Finding UFOs or Finding Bigfoot was the Sierra Spy, and Chasing UFOs was, I can't remember the name of it, Dirty Little Secrets. And then Monsters and Mysteries in America was Bigfoot Wars, Hellhounds, and Evil Gnomes. And then, because we did the Art Bell, Dark Matter Radio Network, digital network, for 2 years, the local TV picked us up, and they aired 3 seasons of our show locally. So we did 3 seasons here locally of our show, and it was fun.
Okay, so tell us about Dark Matter. How is it that you got onto Dark Matter? Because if I'm not mistaken, that was Art Bell's Sirius network broadcast division, wasn't it? And so they picked you up to be on their network. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then I actually never talked to Art Bell, though. We talked. He was talking with his right-hand man, Keith Rowland.
Okay.
And then Keith Rowland would talk with us through the set, our stream to him. And usually it was before or after the show, and only for a few minutes. But we actually towards the end, we were actually trending #1 on the Dark Matter Radio Network, and we actually were out trending Art. And
really?
Yeah, for a while there. I don't know how long we were, but at one point, Art Bell interrupted and told Keith, "Hey, they're trending #1, and let us know that we were trending #1 through the Skype." You know, and then how do you compose yourself after that? You know what I mean? You're like in the middle of a broadcast, and
right.
a live broadcast, and then somebody says you're trending number one, and it was like, wow, you know. And then we're all speechless for a minute, you know, trying to gather ourselves, because that was pretty good news. At least for me it was. It was fun.
Now, when we talk about Art Bell, he was a real pace setter. He started in the 1990s, if I'm not mistaken, and he did it with Coast to Coast Radio, which now is, I met George Norrie. I went to a UFO convention about 2 years ago and met George Norrie. Art Bell peaked, I think, in the 1990s when his show Coast to Coast AM went national. Like I said, it was on more than 400 radio stations. And he did nothing. He took calls all night long. And the reason that I admired him is because he was like me and like you on your shows now. I am a semi-creator. I'm my own producer. I have to run the board. I have to take the calls, what meager calls there are, or make calls outward, etc., go to the breaks, do everything. And Art Bell did that as well. He was a true Renaissance man. Now,
and you know, not only did he do that, but he did that every single day.
Yes.
And set guests up every single day. And that's not easy, you know.
No.
Even if you're doing a one a week show or 2 days a week, you know, try doing that 5 days a week. That is not easy.
No, it isn't.
For years.
No, exactly. And he was in the middle of the desert. You know, he's the exact opposite of what you'd expect a successful radio broadcaster to be. And he would broadcast right in the middle of the desert in a room. If you ever look at some of Art Bell's photographs, you'll see photos of him in his room with all the radio equipment around him as well. So he punched up the callers himself. They were all unscreened. He usually kept one line open for anybody that wanted to talk about what was happening at Area 51, which I found very interesting about that. I also noticed that there has not been an autopsy on Art Bell that I'm aware of yet. I would guess that it may have something to do with cancer. If I'm not mistaken, Art Bell was pretty much of a prodigious smoker. And I was sad, very, very sad to see him gone, because I'm afraid we're not going to see someone like Art Bell again. And Art Bell or George Norrie, I'm sorry, there's no choice between the two. It's got to be Art Bell. Absolutely.
Well, he's the guy. I mean, there wouldn't be any of us.
Yes.
If there wasn't him first.
Yep.
I mean, everybody. I don't care who is doing paranormal. There's a bunch of them on YouTube and Blog Talk. I mean, take your pick, take your topic. There's 100 guys on every one of them, or gals, and they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Art Bell, really.
No, that's absolutely. He set the pace for that kind of radio. He was as groundbreaking for his time doing that as Rush Limbaugh was groundbreaking for conservative radio. Somebody had to do it. He did it for the paranormal. And up to that time, people would chat about it every once in a while, and not with any real frequency. So,
right. Well, you're kind of like when I hear you, I think of the one you just said, the EIB network.
Oh, Limbaugh?
Yeah, you have that energy and and vocabulary, and I mean you're really good at it. Really good at it. So I wanted you to know that.
That dollar bill that I sent you then did pay off. Thank you very much for saying those kind things about me.
I hung that in my room.
No. Well, hell, the other thing is I sent you the frame, and I was hoping you would frame it, and then you sent me the photograph indicating that it was framed. So I think that was absolutely wonderful. I really, really appreciate your having done that. Have you been squatching recently? And I know that let's see, when was the last time you had a broadcast? Because I watched part of it.
Actually, it's been a couple of weeks. I'm in I'm actually having construction at my house.
Your bedroom. Yep.
Yeah, and in the middle of it, I'm disabled. Okay, so I'm not fast, like by any means. And we were moving this huge desk out, which I'm not going to use, by the way, afterwards. I'm going to get something like a lot smaller, hopefully. And the guy that was helping me, my nephew, was helping me move it and kind of tripped up, and I was backing up.
Uh-huh.
And he went forward, so then I caught everything, and boy, did I catch it. Everything, it hurt me, put me down for a week.
Ah.
And then I get better. I'm down for a week, and I get better. I'm kind of sore, and my wife's like, we want back in our bedroom, like.
Get going.
Let's get moving. Yeah, and I get in there, and my leg drags. My toe drags. I can't lift unless I lift my foot kind of weird like. And for some reason, I never learned that walk where you lift your leg. It kind of makes it tire out too fast. So I just let my toe drag. Well, I hit a little thing, and I went flying across the room. And what's really funny is I thought I would show some of my people, my people that listen to me, a little video of, the room and everything. And I actually caught myself flying through the room and crashing out, and I made a little video with like Benny Hill music and then a car screeching and crashing. And I put it on my Facebook, and it's getting, lots of views. Everybody's laughing at me and having a good time with it. But it put me out another 2 more days.
Yeah, just what you didn't need.
Right, yeah. And actually, day before yesterday, I'm up again and up and at it and getting busy again. And once I get back in this other room, I'll set it up where I could just walk in, turn everything on, do my thing, and anytime I want. And that's what I'm working towards.
So
and be a lot more regular.
Your bedroom is going to be a studio. Eventually, you're going to make it into a radio studio?
Yeah, the one I'm in right now, I call it the motel room because it's only temporary. The room we're working on right now actually is the master bedroom, but it flooded out a few times. We had a tree get into the septic, and it's the lowest point, so it took all the flood water. So it's been quite a process to get all that all fixed. And then while we were fixing it, I actually pulled the desk in the middle of the room, set everything up, and while I was working on the walls and changing out the sheetrock and stuff, I was actually doing shows in there. But now I don't have anywhere. Everything's all packed in a box and in between, and, so I really, unless I sit outside with a laptop and a webcam, I'm not really doing much.
When you get everything together, when you get your room together, when you get your office together, your production laptop, cams, etc., do you plan to do like a once-a-week show?
Yeah, I'm going to do it dedicated once a week, and then I'm, live, and then I'm also going to do edited. I guess I call them field trips, where I go out. People like just recently, not far from here, about 45 minutes. Somebody found some Bigfoot tracks in their driveway.
Really?
And,
now, was that in Fresno, around Fresno?
It was towards Shaver Lake. It was up in the hills.
Okay.
But I only live like 30 minutes from the mountains, and I used to live up there for 22 years, so everybody knows me up there. I raised all 6 kids up there. They went through the schools, and I know everyone up there. So anytime anything happens, a UFO or a Bigfoot or anything, they call me and send me pictures and stuff like that. So I get lots of field trips. And I'm going to bring that. Go and interview them, and then edit it, and then I'll put those up as well in between the live shows.
Let me ask you. I've wanted to ask you this for quite some time, and I failed to do so on the 2 prior occasions, and I failed to do this when we had lunch. We had lunch about a month ago. And I drove to Fresno, and we had a great lunch and talked about all sorts of stuff. And I told Alan, about my strange sighting of sort of a Bigfoot, like juvenile-looking Bigfoot off of Highway 20 near Clear Lake. But I wanted to ask you, do you think it's a coincidence? Number one, let me back up a little bit. The general Fresno area, and you correct me if I'm wrong, seems to be a veritable hotbed of all sorts of paranormal, Sasquatch, and unexplained activity. And people don't think of Fresno, which is pretty much an agrarian community, but it's booming. There's a lot of agricultural stuff going on in Fresno, but it's an expanding city as well. Do you think there's any sort of a coincidence that all of these things happen in Fresno and magically you end up in Fresno as well? Do you think there's any connection with those things?
I would have said before, before I saw this thing one morning, I would have said no, and I would have laughed at it. But now that I've talked to hundreds of people, and not just at Sasquatch, I mean, they're UFOs off the hook, orbs, ghosts, Bigfoot, what was the night crawlers that they did a couple of shows on cable? People can look that up.
Well, I think they have videos of those on YouTube, don't they? You can see those, the Fresno night crawlers.
Yeah, one of them is was fake. There was ones that are really tall, and they say they were at Yosemite or something like that. I don't know where they were done, but that was fake. But the little ones that this guy caught on his CCTV cameras or security cameras, those are real.
Those are the ones that I saw. Refresh my memory on that. I remember seeing figures, and it looked like they were in this guy's yard. Is that the video you're talking about? It looked like this guy's yard, front or back, or something like that.
Yeah, that it was, and he was having trouble with people, and he lived in it. Like on TV, they said he lived somewhere else than where he really lived. I don't know why they do that, but they do. But he actually was in more of a not a desirable side of town, and he didn't speak English, and he had no technical know-how whatsoever. And you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't even think he could turn a laptop on and figure out how to surf the internet. I mean, he was an old farm guy, and all he knew was farming and stuff like that. Barely could use his cell phone. And, everybody kept saying maybe he hoaxed it or something. There's no way this guy did that.
It looked pretty credible to me when I was looking at those on YouTube. My wife is interested in the paranormal, and which is why she listens to you whenever she can. All things unexplained, UFOs, the paranormal. She reads Zachariah Sitchin, anyone remotely connected with that kind of stuff. So I just want to tell you, Alan Thomas, that my wife happens to be a massive fan of yours, and if she doesn't catch you live at night before she goes to bed, she's got earbuds in her ear, and she's got another older cell phone that she uses to listen to things on the internet. And if she doesn't catch you live, she catches you on YouTube in your podcast and your other broadcasts. So I just want to tell you, you have a personal fan in the BZ family.
Right on. She's probably listening to the bedtime stories. For a long time there, I would get on and tell a bedtime story because I didn't have anything, All I had was my cell phone, and I thought, man, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and all I had was my cell phone, and I would go live, and I would tell a bedtime story. And I would just tell a story of, something that I researched, or I went out and interviewed somebody, and I would just tell these stories and call them bedtime stories. That's actually how I started on my own. And they're good stories. I mean, they're good to go back and listen to. Even I listen to them, and I don't even like hearing myself that much.
Folks, it's the top of the hour. We have been talking to Alan Thomas, and he and I weighed in on the passing of Art Bell today, and also just caught up to date in general with what's going on with Alan Thomas. I want to thank you ever so kindly tonight for being here, sir. And I greatly appreciate your time for having done so. And again, before everyone forgets, where can they find you on your YouTube channel and any social media that you care to mention? I want to hear about it because I want people to be able to listen to you as much as possible.
And it is the Squatch Zone. And just Squatch Zone, like Sasquatch, but take the sass off. It's just Squatch Zone. And I actually got that name, Squatch, from my good friend Bobo. His name's James Spade, but he's one of the stars on Finding Bigfoot. We're really good friends, and he started calling Sasquatch Squatches and Squatch On and all that, and I thought that is a really cool name. So that's what I named my thing, Squatch Zone. Okay. And that's all across the board. All my social, everything is Squatch Zone.
Well, thank you, Alan Thomas, for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to maybe touch base with you again in another 2 or 3 weeks and see how things are doing. And particularly if you happen to get your bedroom completed and in an office. And like I say, particularly if you happen to be getting on and doing some regular broadcasts, because I know, like I said, one fan, my wife, will listen to anything and everything that you happen to do.
Well, once I'm on there, I'd like to have you come on as a guest and tell your story. And also, maybe we could talk, because I'm into the conspiracy. I actually listen to you all the time, and you're on some very cool subjects right now. Because, we are winning. You know that, right?
Yeah, we are. It depends on who you talk to and what you listen to, but the bottom line is at this point, yeah, we are. Folks, we're talking.
Winning.
Yes, we've been talking to Alan Thomas. I thank you so kindly for being here tonight. We're going to go to a break, and if you didn't think there was breaking news today, not breaking wind, mind you, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about breaking news. Well, you'd be absolutely wrong. So, folks, don't go away and hang around. I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplains.talkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. shrmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I love this. I love this song. And you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct here in the SHR Media Network studios, the sumptuous palatial studios where there's a monitor for Sackhead's Clint right over there when we do, oh, that's right. Tomorrow night will be the third episode of Sackheads Against Tyranny. And Sackhead's Clint will be here. And it's not the replacement show because no show can replace the Sackheads radio show. But it's an alternate universe kind of show where we talk about some different things. And it's an interplay between Sackhead's Clint and Sackhead's BZ. It's the same time as my show, Tuesday and Thursday. Which is why I chose my show Tuesday and Thursday. I told Sackhead Sean that what I was aiming to do is to make a Sackheads radio sandwich out of my show, that their show would be right in the middle on Wednesday, and then I would have Tuesday and Thursday. But just like my show, 8 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Eastern, Sackheads Against Tyranny with Sackheads Clint and myself. You got to be there. Now we're going to go into politics. I know that shocks you. I hope you're sitting down. Kurt Schlichter came out with another article that says essentially all that you need to know about Never Trumpers. And oddly enough, it's called Never Trumpers, Whining About Principles Was Just an Act. This is just from a couple of days ago. You know, all that insufferable babbling and crying about principles that we had to endure from you Never Trump conservative Ken dolls, your rending of your cheap suits, your 180s over classic GOP policies because the Donald actually tried to enact them, and your mortifying blubbering to suddenly sympathetic hosts on MSNBC and CNN about how awful our president is with your sad, drawn faces and your high-pitched voices, you true conservatives of conservatism, trademark, you keepers of the flame of conservativeness, resisted the coming of Donald Trump and those who supported him because Because that's not who we are. Because we're better than that. Because our principles. All right? Our principles. Yeah. Right. Well, it was all a crock, a con, a grift by a bunch of displaced Beltway strivers, furious that the marks, that's us normals, okay, wised up to their scam, played the players, and sent them packing. Principles. You laughed uproariously at Sean Hannity's confidential information being revealed for no good reason, just as you laughed at President Trump when federal agents marched into his lawyer's office to steal privileged documents as part of the shameful collusion farce you've been applauding. Stop just for a second, Kurt. I'm going to have Alan Dershowitz weigh in on the invasion of Michael Cohen, and boy, does he have some salient things to say in an audio cut in just a few minutes. Your principles didn't stop you from supporting an effort to undo the results of an election that left you out in the cold. So what would the founders say? Probably, stop trying to hang around with us. Where are your principles in the face of the gross injustices of the last few days? A federal judge who was nearly appointed Bill Clinton's attorney general and who officiated, this is true, I told you about this last week, Kimba Wood, who officiated at George Soros's wedding, ordered Hannity's information disclosed. Hey, but that was cool with you. After all, Shauna Hannity is so... Oh, well, I never... principles that depend on who is asserting them aren't principles. They're poses. If you actually adhered to them, your principles would have you shrieking, not cheering. A bunch of Hillary-donating feds should not be allowed to randomly pillage through privileged materials looking for a crime. No, the crime fraud exemption does not mean that feds can take your stuff, read through it, and then decide if some happens to fall into that narrow exception, and then leak the rest. But hey, why let some principles get in the way of a good laugh at the expense of one of those Trump people? Gosh, it's almost like your talk of principles was just talk. The government is mocking due process, shattering attorney-client privilege, and undermining the rule of freaking law, but you're giggling like teen girls at a One Direction reunion concert, only you're less butch. Where are your principles now that invoking them helps someone you don't like? Missing in action, like Bill Kristol and Max Boot, when it comes to the wars they so eagerly advocate. You and your principles. Your only principle is getting the president out of power so that you can weasel back in. You don't hate Donald Trump because he feels he can ignore your glorious principles at convenience. You hate Donald Trump because he feels he can ignore you. And same with the rest of the normals, those of us who had to spend decades listening to your excuses and lies until we noticed the cruise ship captains of the conservative elite had been treading water. Oh, yeah. Every election you promised to fight, and after every election, all you did was fail. But hey, you had a good gig as long as the bipartisan elite grift was in effect. When the GOP won, you were the in crowd and you raked in donations and media hits with the promise that you would use the power we gave you to make real conservative change. But that never seemed to happen. And when the GOP lost, well, then you were in opposition, and so you raked in the dough and attention talking about how you would fight once we put you back into power. It was a pretty good scam. That is, until we got tired of being lied to and installed a disruptor into office. And what we hired him to disrupt was your sweet little gig. We rejected you, us unwashed, uncivilized, non-DC, New York living nobodies rejected you. And now you can't even get your phone calls returned from that 24-year-old guy in a MAGA hat down at the old executive office building. You're a nobody. A punchline. Writing articles nobody reads. For magazines no one remembers. Stop. BZ interjects, I used to subscribe to the Weekly Standard. I used to occasionally read Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol should just take a massive cup of shut the fuck up and just change whatever R he happens to hang anywhere anymore to a D. He's a Democrat. Just go be a Democrat and be honest with yourself and everyone else. Okay, back to Kurt. It gnaws at you. But you still have your principles, your precious principles, and the liberals will let you act out your Never Trump charade on their shows and in their pages because it's helpful to them to have little Mr. Helper playing sad conservative has-been against Trump. But they don't respect you. They don't like you. And when they're finished with you, it's back in the GIMP box. You think you're Michael Corleone conservatives, pulling the strings, plotting to take power, but you're really just Frito-Cons. You're not smart. You can't handle things. And you may want respect, but don't hold your breath. Still, you have wonderful principles. Congratulations. And if you close your eyes and try real hard, you unaccomplished mediocrities can imagine that you aren't just lying there on your bellies at the feet of your liberal overlords. But you are. Maybe if you beg, if you obey, if you please them by trashing the people you used to pretend to champion, perhaps your masters will drop a scrap off the table for you to gobble up. Here's a hit on NBC with Chuck Todd. Be ready with a bon mot about how Donald Trump is a moral cancer. Here's a chance to write for the New York Times. Be careful to stay within bounds, though, or else. Here's an invitation to a little cocktail soiree in Georgetown. Just make sure you shake your head in disgust when the other partygoers talk about those racist hillbillies and science-hating Christians with their guns and Jesus and masculinity. You've talked, and you've talked, and you've talked about your principles, but as James Comey and Robert Mueller and your gal Felonia Milhouse Von Pantsuit undermined every principle this country was founded on, all you did was clutch pearls about how Trump is icky. This country is in real danger of breaking apart, of actual conflict, but all you can think of is recovering your cheesy little seat on the Beltway bench. No one's fooled, and no one cares, which ought to scare the hell out of you, because when the liberals figure out that you have zero credibility with us real conservatives, you'll stop being their useful idiot. You'll just be a plain old idiot. Another reason, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, why I love reading Kurt Schlichter. Kurt Schlichter's about to have a third book come out. And he's a tough guy to get in touch with. He has agreed to be on the show. However, every time I try to get in touch with him and ask him for a very specific slot, now he happens to be in California. He's down in Southern California. So the Pacific time would be no issue. But just trying to schedule him to come on because he's so damn busy. And like I say, he's going to be on a book tour in the not too terribly distant future. Just trying to find that stuff, trying to find the time to get him on is really kind of tough. Now, a couple of things came out. One of them most recently before I hit the car to come to the studio tonight. This is from Sarah Carter, sarahacarter.com. She's been an excellent journalist for many, many years and has broken many stories with regard to the dossier, Donald Trump, etc., the deep state, the swamp, etc. Her newest article is extremely important and asks a extremely important question. Did Andrew McCabe, issue a stand-down order on the FBI Clinton email investigation? A subheadline to that is, McCabe tried to steer people off the private email investigation. That's pretty amazing. Former FBI Director Andrew McCabe, Deputy Director, I should say, Andrew McCabe, is now facing possible criminal charges for lying under oath about leaks he made to the Wall Street Journal in 2016 in an effort to salvage his reputation and give his account to journalists who were questioning whether he gave a stand-down order to FBI agents investigating the Clinton investigation. Multiple former FBI officials, along with a congressional official, say that while there may have been internal squabbling over the FBI's investigation into the Clinton Foundation at the time, there was allegedly another stand-down order by McCabe regarding the opening of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of her private email for official government business. Astounding. However, considering it all, are you shocked? McCabe's stand-down order regarding Clinton's private email use happened after the New York Times first reported Hillary Clinton used personal email account at State Department, possibly breaking rules, in March of 2015, and before the official investigation was requested by the Justice Department toward the end of July 2015. After the New York Times publication, the FBI Washington Field Office, I went there for a while, it's called WMFO, Washington Metro Field Office, began investigating Clinton's use of private emails and whether she was using her personal email account to transmit classified information. Now, according to sources, McCabe was overseas when he became aware of the investigation and sent electronic communications voicing his displeasure with the agents. This is a quote. McCabe tried to steer people off the private email investigation, and that appears to be obstruction and should be investigated, said one former FBI official with knowledge of the circumstances surrounding the investigation. Now, if the information on the stand-down order is obtained by the IG, that could bring down a whole lot of other troubles to McCabe. Inspector General Michael Horowitz released the report on McCabe earlier this month and is continuing to investigate the FBI's role in the investigation into Clinton's use of a private server to conduct government business. Horowitz's team of investigators have been sifting through more than 1.2 million documents, of which 46,000 are connected, I should say, to the ongoing investigations, according to several congressional officials who spoke to this reporter, Sarah Carter. Of those documents, Congress has received a tiny fraction of the emails pertaining to their oversight investigations. Stop. I'm going to go in another direction in just a moment. But the reason I read this is because it was just breaking news, and also because, and the reason I'm going to continue on this path, is this was, I continue to say, this was nothing more or less than a soft coup on the government, trying to remove an individual who was a presidential candidate, then a presidential nominee, then a president-elect, then a president, a current sitting president. I could make an excellent case, in my opinion, for a RICO against a host of individuals who will eventually rue the day that they picked up the meme started by Hillary Clinton on November 9th of Trump, Russia, collusion, hacking, election, and it all dovetails back to the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, Donald John Trump, when in fact, month after month, after a year, the things that Donald Trump has initially been saying have more and more been proven to be true. This just came out the other day, and once I saw this yesterday, I believe. This is an actual article about an actual factual event. I'm going to tell you what happened, and then I'm going to play an audio cut so that you can see what this person I'm going to talk about is truly like and what he really thinks. And you must be thinking to yourself, BZ, who the hell are you talking to? This is not a joke. Fortune magazine named David Hogg and his cohorts the world's greatest leaders of 2018. I shit thee not. It has a whiff of classic fake news. David Hogg and all his foul-mouthed little high school buddies who made headlines and raked cash from their calls for gun control in the wake of the Parkland shooting have been elevated to the #1 spot in Fortune magazine's annual list of the world's 50 greatest leaders. Mike Allen at Axios got a sneak peek of the upcoming issue and reported it and said, Fortune editor-in-chief Clinton Leaf, if 2018 becomes the year that the United States finally begins to tackle its disease of gun violence, it will be due not to the good sense of elected officials, but rather to the courage, tenacity, and sheer eloquence of the students. Sheer eloquence of the students. Okay, that's perfect because I want you to hear the sheer eloquence of David Hogg.
That want to keep killing our children. They could have blood from children spattered all over their faces and they wouldn't take action because they'll still see those dollar signs.
Are you exhausted?
I'm beyond exhausted.
Is it energizing, this exhaustion? Is it an energizing exhaustion?
Yeah, it's just as energizing as it is exhausting at this point. I get to a certain point where I get so tired that I just keep going.
A 17-year-old is talking like he's Jesus.
It creates a positive feedback loop in some ways, where the more stress and work that I put on me, the more work and stress that I can deal with. Well, at this point, it's like when your old-ass parents, like, I don't know how to send an iMessage, and you're just like, give me the fucking phone, and you take it and you're like, okay, let me handle it, and you get it done in 1 second. Sadly, that's what we have to do with our government because our parents don't know how to use a fucking democracy, so we have to.
Your parents don't know how to use a fucking democracy, so kids like him have to, because you're not smart enough to.
What sick fuckers are out there that want to continue to sell more guns, murder more children, and honestly just,
let's play this again.
Phone, and you take it and you're like, okay, let me handle it, and you get it done in 1 second. Sadly, that's what we have to do with our government because our parents don't know how to use a fucking democracy, so we have to. You think what sick fuckers are out there that want to continue to sell more guns, murder more children, and honestly just get reelected?
Fuck you, David Hogg. This is why at the end of promos it says caution, explicit. Fuck you, David Hogg. I want to see you put on a suit. Let's see you put on a cop suit and go out and respond shag calls for service. Let's see you do something than just be a victim. Let's see you do something than just run your mouth. You have no experience, zero experience. And let me tell you something else, if I might, David Hogg. I got about 2 minutes before the break, so I may as well vent my spleen just for a little bit. And that's this. I'm done trying to defend my Second Amendment to you because, David Hogg, I don't have to defend my Second Amendment to you. And I know that you and all you like-minded, limp-wristed pussies are coming and want to confiscate my guns when you're lying to my face. Some of you are truthful and saying we're really coming for your guns. Thank you for your honesty. I really appreciate that. But, David Hogg, am I giving up my Second Amendment for killed students? No. Will I give up my Second Amendment for you? No. Will I give up my Second Amendment for more school shootings? No. Will I give up my Second Amendment for my wife? We already discussed this. No. I'm your worst nightmare. I'm a guy that doesn't believe that I have to justify any fucking thing to you in terms of the Second Amendment. It's in the Bill of Rights. And it belongs to me. And you know nothing about sacrifice or courage or what all the people had to do to allow you to sit here and badmouth the Bill of Rights, the U.S. Constitution, and the founders of this wonderful republic if we can keep it. Are you going to sacrifice and be a soldier? No, you want to get into college and have some kind of a degree that with $35 will allow you to maybe be a barista somewhere. You and your white privilege. I wonder if anyone's talked to you about your white male privilege. Because if there's somebody that's got it right now these days, it's you. Oh, and you're doing a book deal, too, David Hogg. Isn't that funny? You're doing a book deal. See, you're capitalizing on all this as much as you possibly can.
What type of person are you when you want to see more fucking money than children's lives?
Oh, you mean the money that you're going to make off your book, David Hogg.
What type of shitty person does that?
Yes, perhaps you better look in the mirror.
And, like, there's this whole I mean, the way that they're talking about it now, the way Rick Scott has been talking about it is like, when the shooter arrives, we need a metal detector and a guard.
Point, with Rick Scott, it's like, when I get elected to Senate, we're not going to let that fucking happen, and you guys better not. He's like, oh, I'm going to implement all of these amazing things. Let me make sure I do it right before my election for Senate when I try calling out Bill Nelson.
By the way, stop, David Hogg. This is why I love you, because you are such a perfect fucking example of a leftist, a brain-wiped, brain-dead leftist in today's society. This is why I love you, and you and your ilk make excellent illustrations precisely of this. And that's you, David Hogg, went nuts when it was suggested at your school that now, in order to help with security at that school, you went crazy because now they recommended transparent backpacks, and your rights were assaulted. You were absolutely beside yourself that your personal rights were offended and affected, and your ox was gored because it was so inconvenient of you to have to wear a transparent backpack so people could see what you brought into school. Oh, woe is you, David Hogg. I feel so fucking sorry for you.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday, from 7 to 9 a.m., right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, a good, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
You are, in fact, listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin. That's me. On the SHR Media Network, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios, the sumptuous, palatial SHR Media Network Studios, 2 miles from the locus of evil on the entire planet, I should submit. I told you a little bit, and I weighed in quite kindly on David Hogg before the break, and told you that he was Fortune Magazine's wonderful liberator of the year. Yeah, I'm sure. And now we had an incident that occurred recently in Toronto. Oddly enough, during a G7 conference. I can't imagine the linkage with that, what that would possibly be. So if there's linkage at all, I'm just throwing it out there into the ozone. But what this has done so far is to continue to prove that BZ's terror authority announcement axiom is still correct. And it goes like this. The longer it takes for law enforcement or authorities to announce that a clear terror event is linked to Islam, the more likely it is that Islam is involved. So, with that van attack in Toronto yesterday during the G7 summit, Toronto cops happened to nab the suspected driver who plowed into a group of people on a crowded city street, and that was yesterday afternoon, leaving 10 people dead, 25 people injured, Deputy Police Chief Peter Yen said. They confirmed the arrest of the suspect, which came about minutes after news of the incident broke. That van was involved in multiple pedestrians struck in the Yonge and Finch areas of Toronto, and he's been located and the driver arrested. The funny thing about that was I went into Google Maps to look around in that general area, and it appears to be very Asian in nature. Now, how far it is from the G7 summit area, I'm not quite sure. And like I said, I'm convinced that it was mere coinkydink that the G7 conference was in the area. There was a witness who said the driver was definitely in control of what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. Alex Shaker, who witnessed the incident, said the van was speeding down the street before it mounted the curb and plowed into people. He started going into the sidewalk and crumbling down people one by one. He just destroyed so many people's lives, every single thing that got in his way. However, it's very interesting because I'm on Twitter and I look at Twitter most of the time. There's an individual named Tarek Fatah who happened to write on Twitter. The Toronto rented van that was driven by a wide-eyed, angry man identified by a witness as a Middle Eastern man who intentionally ran over pedestrians on the sidewalk, plowing through people with a stroller flying through the air. And then I happened to locate this video. Now, let me see if I can get this to play, because trying to embed video out of Twitter can sometimes be a little bit difficult. Here's a journalista interviewing a witness to the incident. Let's see if we can get it to play. Pretty please. We're getting a circle. That's the problem with Twitter embedding things. I might have to refresh you. Okay. Let's see if I do that. Let's see if I can refresh this. And let's see if you'll play for me after refreshing. You may or may not. Here's an interesting thing I've also noticed about Twitter and about YouTube. And it happened to one of my posts 2 days ago. A video that I used from YouTube to prove one of the points that I made in a representative caster's grilling of Mark Zuckerberg, where she told him, "Don't bullshit me." And I went on I created a post about that. That specific video is now, amazingly enough, gone. Apparently that one's not going to play. Let me see if the second one down here. Now, if I can get this one to play, this is the Toronto mayor. Why would the Toronto mayor talk about being inclusive, accepting, understanding, and considerate? Why would he say that in a press meeting directly following an attack like this? And I have to ask why. Unless he's attempting to prepare people for some other kind of information or some other kind of shoe dropping. Okay, and I'm getting the round circle of death from this one as well. And I always, these days, because social media demands that I wonder, that the links that people attempt to use out of Twitter or other social media become magically corrupted. I'm going to try this one more time to see if I can refresh this entire area, which is why I enjoy getting my stuff from YouTube a lot more than I do from Twitter, although I find that Twitter sometimes has some stuff that YouTube doesn't. I'm going to give Arda Zakarian another chance here to play, because I have the volume up, and let's see if Arda is going to play. Go ahead, Arda. Arda's not going to play. This is a buzzkill for a radio show, by the way. And let's see if the mayor is going to play. Okay, and the mayor's not going to play. But after that, it's authorities have not announced any specific and clear Muslim link, right? Because I believe they're quaking in their little collective booties, attempting to figure out how to soft pedal any kind of an Islamic linkage, just as historically any number of veteran nation, or Western nations, I should say, and law enforcement agencies have done for quite some time. Then this article came out, and this kind of pointed me in the right direction. And this is by Matt Richardson. It says, Toronto van crash suspect ID'd as police won't rule out terror possibility. Police in Toronto identified the suspected driver of a van that rammed into a crowd of pedestrians earlier Monday and said they would not rule out terrorism as a possible motive. The vehicle was driven by Alec Manassian, 25, of Richmond Hill, north of Toronto, police said. Manassian allegedly drove into dozens of people, intentionally killing 10 and injuring 15-plus others. We don't rule out anything, Toronto Police Service Chief Mark Saunders said in a Monday evening news conference. We need to follow what we have. Based on witness accounts, it's very clear the actions definitely looked deliberate. He said the suspect was not previously known to police. So that's Beezy's terror axiom. Police won't rule out the possibility of terror. You know what? What happens, however, if I'm correct? And then another thing happened back here in the United States of America. You know how there are sanctuary states and counties? What would happen if there was a sanctuary county for firearms? Is there such a thing? And apparently, in a word, yes, there is. So California decided that it was going to be a sanctuary state for illegal Mexicans and others. Make no mistake, mostly Mexicans. Kate Steinle can, of course, she can go straight to hell, as evidenced by the San Francisco Superior Court's 2017 verdict in her murderer's case. And that said, a number of California, or maybe I should say Fornicalia, cities and counties are beginning to push back against the state sanctuary concept and are themselves joining in suits or policies disavowing the state of California sanctuary policy. So here's a story by Sarah Holder that says, as California protects immigrants, cities revolt. The California Department of Justice is already suing, the Federal Department of Justice is already suing California over its refusal to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. Now some small California cities are mounting an attack from within. The federal government's attack on California sanctuary state laws is growing angry grassroots heads after California moved to prevent state and local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration officials in October. Governor Jerry Brown and Attorney General Xavier Becerra were met with swift retaliation from Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who sued them and the state, alleging that 3 of the state's new laws, including Senate Bill 54, overstepped their rights as a state and violated the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause. It's the same argument the Department of Justice makes in another suit it filed against California this week over jurisdiction in sales of federal land. But while California officials wait their days in court, a new resistance is being mounted from within. In March, the small city, and it is a teeny little winky city, of Los Alamitos was the first to announce that they would put their commitment to federal law over state regulations, drafting an ordinance that would let them opt out of state-level sanctuary laws. Emboldened, other cities in Orange and San Diego counties are drafting exceptions ordinances of their own. They're the conservative mirror to the wave of liberal sanctuary cities like West Palm Beach, Florida, and Dallas County, Texas, that have pushed back against the conservative home states' strict immigration enforcement. If you owned or own a business in California, whom do you obey? You're conflicted between state and federal laws. And businesses in California should never, ever have been put in that position. It was and is the state of California deciding which laws to obey and which to ignore, and California simply declared itself a sanctuary state. So, on the heels of decisions like these comes a county in Illinois, of all places, making a declaration almost as monumental and equally abhorrent in the eyes of leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots. This is from thedailycaller.com. County declares sanctuary status for Second Amendment supporters, and outrage ensues. An Illinois county recently declared sanctuary status for gun owners. The Effingham County, Illinois Board passed a resolution this week protecting their county from any laws from the state's capital that might abridge the Second Amendment.
Of sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants, and now one Illinois county is declaring itself a sanctuary for gun owners. And they're joining a growing number of gun owners across the country who are fighting to protect their Second Amendment rights. Joining me now is Effingham County Board Member David Campbell and Effingham County State Attorney Brian Kibler. Thank you both for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Heather.
So you put this resolution...
By the way, this is good old American creativity. I like this.
...together, the two of you. David, I'll start with you. Why did you decide to do this to begin with?
Basically, this came about, we've been seeing an increasing number of House and Senate bills coming through, attacking our Second Amendment. And I go to a lot of the NRA banquets and things in my hometown and talk to a lot of my constituents.
Ooh, stop. He's an evil NRA member.
And decided to take a stand. We're tired of seeing all these new House bills coming through, attacking our Second Amendment rights, and decided that it's time for someone to take a hard stand. And that's kind of how we started looking at this, and I started doing some research on resolutions and saw that Iroquois County had done a similar a resolution that I wanted to kind of start ours after, and took some bullet points from that and then started forming our own. And I talked to our state's attorney Brian, and we started putting in some of our own language and came up with our Effingham County resolution.
Yeah, Brian, I want to ask you about that. The county board, Monday, they passed this resolution 8-1, and it basically directs employees not to enforce new Illinois laws that would, and this is a quote, unconstitutionally restrict the Second Amendment. Now, is this symbolic, or what type of action do you believe could be taken as a result?
Well, Heather, it's mostly symbolic. Obviously, if a state law violates the Second Amendment, federal Constitution, law enforcement is not going to be able to enforce it anyway. But when Dave and I were drafting it, we thought, well, how could we really get the point across that this is becoming a major concern to our constituents, that our Second...
By the way, this is what they wrote. They wrote, if the government of the state of Illinois shall infringe upon the inalienable rights granted by the Second Amendment, Effingham County shall become a sanctuary county for all firearms.
We really get the point across that this is becoming a major concern to our constituents, that our Second Amendment rights and liberties are being slowly stripped away through numerous bills coming through the Illinois General Assembly. So we thought, you know what, there were kind of a thought, why don't we just make this a sanctuary county like they would for undocumented immigrants? So we did.
Okay, that was a good idea. Like I say, very creative. And of course, there had to be a leftist reaction to this, after all, right? So the Chicago Tribune weighed in on the matter by a guy named Rex Hupke. A sanctuary county in Illinois for paranoid gun owners, I'll help you move. Great news! A south central Illinois county is now a self-declared sanctuary for gun owners. That's right. Officials in Effingham County, my favorite Illinois county that ends in ham, have decided that they won't accept any state laws that unconstitutionally restrict the Second Amendment. Granted, there are no state laws that do that, according to what you say, but such trivial matters were of no concern to the gun-positive county board members who passed the resolution Monday on an 8-1 vote. This is just yesterday, by the way. According to Effingham Daily News, one resident spoke in support of the resolution and argued that far more people die from tobacco and alcohol than are killed by people who legally own guns. We as a society need to stop thinking about things that don't matter, the man said. Yes. We must stop thinking about things that don't matter and focus our attention on symbolic and unenforceable resolutions that address problems that don't exist. And I say, yeah, precisely, Rex. Just like the illegal and unenforceable law from Deerfield, Illinois, requiring its residents to turn over or eliminate all of their semi-automatic firearms with, by the way, upon failure to do so, a $1,000 per day fine attached. So, you know what? Jolly good show on that one,
now
Rex.
We're following a developing
right?
story out of north suburban Deerfield. Late tonight, village trustees voted to ban certain semi-automatic weapons. CBS 2.
Because remember, Rex, this doesn't happen in the state, right? There's no ban. This stuff is all in the heads of rightists and conservatives and all those nut jobs.
Jeremy Ross is live in Deerfield, where residents on both sides of the issue stated their case tonight. Jeremy.
Well, good evening, Erica. The vote came in about an hour ago, and it was unanimous. The village opting for a ban on specific types of firearms. And essentially what that means is a complete ban on semi-automatic rifles, pistols, and shotguns containing certain features and magazines containing more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Law enforcement and retired law enforcement are exempt by the adjustments to local law. The debate before the vote at times heated and passionate.
There's going to be lots of talk about Second Amendment rights, but
going to be lots of talk about Second Amendment rights, but the Second Amendment doesn't really hold.
I'd be hard-pressed to find any right that is completely unrestricted.
We have police. Yeah, they had them in Florida, too. Imagine how those teachers and those kids, folks, they look out that window at that cop hiding behind that tree. I bet they wish they had a gun versus a phone in their hand.
And isn't that odd? Europe now is wondering, maybe our own version of the Second Amendment is starting to become a bit more timely.
And the law is very similar to the one that is currently in place in Highland Park. The ban goes into effect June 13th, and after that, those with the noted firearms could...
By the way, this is the good part.
...be fined up to $1,000 per day that they possess those noted firearms.
By the way, what noted firearms? Well, let's see. If it's semi-auto, and it's black, and it's creepy looking, and it's scary, and it might have appurtenances attached to it, well, we can't have scary appurtenances attached to firearms in abrogation of the Second Amendment. So the idea of a sanctuary city or a county for gun owners has bubbled up in other states, and it's a not-so-subtle repurposing of the term sanctuary city. So imagine that. So Rex keeps saying that putting compassion for human beings on par with passion for guns is a sweet way to trigger the libs, and that's pretty much the coin of the realm in U.S. counties that think gun owners need sanctuary. Right, because our gun rights aren't diminishing at all. WFLD, Channel 32 in Chicago, quoted Effingham County State Attorney Brian Kibler saying, if you can be a sanctuary county for undocumented immigrants, why can't you be one for firearms? You tell him, Brian. And I say to Rex, you tell him, Rex, because you are so much smarter than anyone else, and you're possessive of so much more insight than anyone else. Sanctimony be damned. Do I hear a little whining going on in there, Rex? Perhaps, do you need maybe some Swiss Gruyere with that? And Rexy baby, I seem to hear something. Maybe I hear a state calling for you. Is it California? Is it California saying, Rex, come to California, Rex?
Monsieur has been locked.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show right here live and direct on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. If you want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at bzep, at my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. My original music at the first of the show is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. Promotional considering by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by the Boeing Company, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going, and of course by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. And thank Alan Thomas. Thanks to Alan Thomas for being here tonight and weighing in on Art Bell and all things paranormal. Thanks to you for listening live. Thanks to you for being in chat. Thanks to you for listening in podcast. I think that's where most of my hits come from. So, God bless, take care, be safe. Sackheads Against Tyranny tomorrow night, right here, shrmedia.com. Take care.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.